She's the General Secretary of the National Pensioners Convention, speaking today in a personal capacity. Over to you, Dot.
Thank you very much. First of all, the National Pensioners Convention, of which I'm the Secretary, has not yet decided to support the coalition of resistance, and therefore I speak as in a personal capacity. But let me just say that the National Pensioners Convention is very active, and I know I haven't got long, but I'd just like to say that in April 2010, before the general election in this country, it was the National Pensioners Convention that led what might now seem like a small demonstration. It was 10,000 people in London against what we knew was going to come, the austerity measures, and we told every single party at that point that we would rebel against any attempt to cut our welfare state. And so we did play a very important part, and we have played a part in all of the other demonstrations since then. I just want to say this: at the TUC this year, the main representatives of massive workers were, of course, the workers in the NHS, the National Health Service, in local government, and all of those services which are provided for people, the ones that are being talked about here. And all of them represented a social crisis. It's not just that their wages are going and their jobs are in danger and that they can't, their unions are undermined, but they cannot carry out the job that they're employed to do. They cannot actually carry out what is necessary to keep people healthy, to teach children, and to do all the things that these workers do. So therefore what we're dealing with is a social crisis, and that's what reflected in the demonstration yesterday and the TUC. It cannot now say that it won't go out on the streets and it won't call a general strike. That there was a majority on the General Council for that, and now I think that we can see in this country a move towards much more militant action and much more generalised action on the part of trade unionists, which is really, really important. Although I don't speak for the, I speak in a personal capacity, nevertheless I am a proud member of the Workers' International to rebuild the Fourth International. I've been a Trotskyist since I was about 15, and I think we ought to start talking about it. Many of us in the pensioners movement experienced first-hand in the 1945, I was 10 at the time, the determination of workers not to go back to the poverty of the 1920s and 30s. Somebody asked a question earlier from the Unite the Union. Why was it that they were able to bring in, at that time in 1945, the welfare state and the National Health Service when they didn't have any money? Well, it was because not only in this country but all over Europe, there was a mass movement. In Europe they had arms in hands, for Christ's sake, and they were saying, well, you know, if you're going to try and drive us back to the 1930s, we went into the war as unemployed workers, then we're going to rebel against you. And Churchill in this country, who lost that general election in 1945, went over to the United States and said, for God's sake, give us some money to stop this lot. And they got a loan from the United States in order to be able to put into practice the welfare state and the National Health Service. And ever since then, they have been attempting to take it back. Thatcherism is now throughout Europe. Everybody knows what Thatcherism means, don't they? And, you know, we had not only the destruction of our gains, but the destruction of our trade unions, or the attempted destruction of our trade unions. And when Labour came in 1997, it continued with the same policies. In actual fact, we have to say that the working class has a tremendous crisis of representation. But I want to say this, and it's already been mentioned a couple of times at this conference. It's time to end the sectarian divisions. I've been in a party that was tremendously sectarian, and we threw them out. And we might seem smaller now, but we're stronger now, and we're in this conference, and many of us have come from the same sort of background. In this country, we have at least 3 organisations who claim to be the authentic leaders of the anti-cuts campaign. On one occasion, 3 conferences were held at the same time, and we had a ridiculous situation where left trade union leaders were running around from one conference to another, making the same speeches. The trouble is that these movements act as if they want to own the movement. They pretend that they are the only ones. And when they have trade union branches and strike committees, they ask them to support their campaign as opposed to the others, and then they claim these as trophies as if they're prizes in a football league. And it's absolutely outrageous that they try to take over and have utter disrespect for the political groups, for the workers' own organisations, their trade unions, their strike committees, tenants committees and local cuts committees. These are the ones that we have to encourage. Yes, we have to be leaders, but we have to listen and we have to have respect for the movement that the workers build. And therefore, I think that this conference and its call for unity is absolutely important. We must form a European front of struggle against austerity with the workers in the lead, and we should have a standing European committee of that body to advance and organise the struggle at European level. This must be the things that we've learned from history. Whatever we do on the 14th of November, we've got to go out and support each other. Even if the ETUC statement needs a bit of swallowing, since it has many illusions and thinks that it can make the books balance, nevertheless it has called for something on the 14th of November, a strike action, and we must support this to the hilt and get ready for Athens in 2013 in a way that means that we build unity and we stamp out sectarianism. Thank you.